Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, sorry.
Welcome to today's webinar entitled Innovative Career Ladders to Facilities and Campus Services at University of Mass, Amherst. My name's Billy Zidek, Manager Special Programs for APA. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. The webinar recording will be posted to the APA website later this afternoon. Please view our website at www.apa.org to register for upcoming events and to view archived webinars for continuing education credits found under the Continuous Learning tab. Professional Continuing Education and AIA-CLU certificates are being offered for today's program. If you are an AIA professional, please send an email to me at Billie, B-I-L-L-I-E, at APA.org, along with your AIA membership number if you have not done so in the past. Those who indicated they wanted to get a registration and meet the requirements will receive certificates later this afternoon. All attendees are in listen-only mode. Please type your questions in the chat box and they will be answered in the order they are received. If we run out of time and we still have questions, responses will be sent directly to the person asking the question by one of our presenters. If you are just calling in, make sure to send me an email at billie@apa.org. I can send you a certificate if you requested. The system only recognizes you if you log in. At this time, it's my pleasure to turn this over to Ray Jackson, who will kick us off today. Ray, take it away.
Thank you, Billy. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here today with my colleagues, Joe Conley, Director of the Partnership for Workplace Education, Human Resources, and Jacob Carter, Project Director of the Partnership for Workplace Education, co-presenting here today on our Career Ladders program at UMass Amherst. We're really excited to be here today to talk to you about a program that we feel is very successful, has a lot of potential, and would like to highlight many of these opportunities with you today. About 2013, before the pandemic, which seems a lifetime ago, Joe Conley approached me about this concept of career ladders. He explained it to me. I thought it had potential, but I got to be honest with everyone, I was a little bit leery about jumping into this effort. And he said, Ray, let me set you up with one of your colleagues on campus, Garrett DeStefano, who's the Director of Dining Services, who had started a Career Ladders program, and you can meet with him and talk through what he sees as a success of this program. So I did, and I quickly learned that it had a lot of value. I could see that he was excited about it, and I walked away from that meeting saying, hey, this is something that we really want to do. I'm hopeful that that will be the result of our presentation with you today. This has been one of the better efforts that I've done in my career. I just feel really proud about it. It helps people, it's team building, and the biggest thing, it gives you the opportunity, you and your senior staff, to kind of play it forward to the next generation. Next slide.
Great, so this is Jacob. Thanks for kicking us off, Ray. Just a quick overview of our session agenda today. We're going to talk about what a career ladder is, give you a quick overview, then we'll talk specifically about this career ladder, learn more about how we got here, where we're going, and then we're also going to just share some highlights and examples of the work so you can get a sense of what that's like, what's happening here. I'll kick it back over to you, Ray.
So let's start this presentation with a quick overview from one of our custodial managers, Chuck McKay. This video is part of our virtual organizational chart that we are developing as part of the Career Ladders program.
My name is Chuck McKay, Custodial Service Manager of days. I'm in charge of all the custodial services that take place during days. I have a counterpart that works nights. I get in normally 48 When I get in, I look at my emails, I check with my supervisors, I check the inspections that they've done, see what issues, problems we're having with some of the buildings, some of the inspections. When we're in the school year, there's a lot more of inspection of classrooms, checking, offices, checking floors, just checking everything basically on what we have to do. When we're out of session in the school, some of our summer work with carpet extraction, things of that nature, that has to get done in a timely manner for the turnaround when school starts back up. So my day's never the same. It could be a day of all emails, it could be a day of all customer issues, or it could be a day of me dealing with my supervisors, making sure that they're doing what they need to do during the course of the day to keep the people that we need to keep happy. I came from the private industry. I've seen close to 50 college university, and I would put UMass at one of the top 3 or 4 schools that I've seen, from grounds, upkeep, and custodial. And one of the most important things, and you come to work, you're stressed out sometimes, you have your issues, but the atmosphere here, I think is awesome. And I think that's from working around the people that make the atmosphere. And, when you run a department, you always want to have morale. I mean, people that have good morale, they will do great work for you. So the one thing that I try to stress with my supervisors, making sure that we're taking care of the employee's business, meaning if it's not custodial related, it can be HR related, but we're not forgetting the issues and problems that they have. That goes a long way. And when we're handling their problems, handling their concerns, handling their issues, it makes them feel like we care about them, opposed to caring about just what they do at work. So I think that goes hand in hand with building morale and helping morale in the department. The end product is making sure we have clean buildings, which I think for the majority of most of it we do, and that's because of the great people we have working for us.
Pass it over to Joe Connolly. Let's see, Joe, I don't think we can hear you. Just having a tech difficulty. Joe's going to join us in 1 second here.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joe. Sorry for the slight delay here. What is a career ladder? I first became aware of career ladders about 25 years ago. I was going to different national conferences in New York City, and some of the biggest joint career ladder programs were in the room. The Boeing program, the Verizon program, the New York State program, the Steelworkers program. What they had going on was incredibly inspirational for me, and it just seemed to make a lot of sense. So what is a career ladder? If you can imagine 2 separate ladders, one, what you see on the right is just a ladder of training from beginning to more advanced. And on the left, you see a series of job titles. It's really a promotional ladder. What a career ladder does in some systematic ways, it connects those 2 ladders so they make sense. So as you get trained, you have more promotional opportunities. It also develops pathways for moving up at the workplace. I guess one bottom line thing it does for workers is it gives them a roadmap for anybody interested in advancement. They know the rules of the game. They know what they can do if they want to do it to go for promotion. Next. Why do career ladders exist? First of all, career ladders and associated apprenticeship programs have been around for decades. In this country, some have been around for more than 100 years. Obviously, they have legs. Industry goes for career ladders for a variety of reasons. One, it helps with recruitment and retention. And you can imagine, particularly in today's climate, it's such a hard hiring climate that anything that gives an employer a leg up in the competitive world of hiring, it has to be a plus. It also can address issues like transparency, uniformity, and fairness in the workplace, all key elements of employee morale. It helps create pathways. It addresses issues of diversity. For example, I know at UMass, we have a lot of diversity in the lower ranks, not so much in the higher ranks. A career ladder can address that. And overall, it can address workplace climate issues as well. What do we do regarding career ladder projects? First, we bring stakeholders together. We co-facilitate with we co-facilitate project development operations. So in the example we're sharing today, we co-facilitate with Ray's management team and the union as well. We develop designs, assessment tools, curricular processes that sort of undergird the entire career ladder process. We provide tailored professional development. In fact, everything is tailored in a career ladder project. We share research and expertise. We seek out research, we create research. We absolutely track impacts as well. Key elements of our approach to career ladders is we have three key elements: organizational structure, professional development, monitoring and evaluation, and learning. What we mean by organizational structure is we really seek out to create a leadership team. We have a multi-stakeholder steering committee. We have other committees as needed. We look at the org charts. We create pathways within the org charts. We provide all sorts of professional development, all of it tailored again. And throughout this, and Jacob will speak to this a little bit later, we're constantly monitoring and evaluating because we can always do a better job. And monitoring is key to that, and data collection and responding to data is key to that as well. Currently, we are engaged with the project that we're talking about today, which is the Facilities and Campus Services project. It covers about 600 staff, including 400 custodial workers at UMass. Separately, we oversee and are engaged with a project in UMass Dining Services with 1,000 staff. In addition, we are the lead agency for a regional pre-apprenticeship program with 26 partners and involves all the major trades, joint apprenticeship programs in the region, the trades unions, the trade contractors. We're pipelined for people who want to join an apprenticeship program, a trades apprenticeship program, but need some extra help, some extra skills before they're ready to apply to an apprenticeship program. In addition, on campus right now, we're helping to develop career ladders for clerical staff. Our own background, the Partnership for Worker Education, we're absolutely unique at UMass because we're the only program that's a formal partnership between the university and several unions. The unions are ASME and two NEA affiliates, USA and PSU. We cover frontline workers, we cover clerical workers, we cover professional workers. All told, we target about 4,000 employees on campus. Our aim is to provide high quality work education and to create stakeholder partnerships. Over the years, we've involved more than 160 agencies in various partnerships. Also over the years, I'm talking since we started about 35 years ago, we've managed 40 different projects. Some are on campus, many are regional, several are statewide, one was national. We've also received 200 funding awards. I would estimate, it's only an estimate, that over this 35 years, we've served about 10,000 participants.
FNCS, Facilities and Campus Service background. Facilities and Campus Services, we provide the custodial services and the building maintenance services for all academic, research, residential life, and athletic buildings on campus. We do all of the ground services and all of the utilities. It's more than 10 million square feet of administrative, service, academic, and recreational space. Recently, we combine residential and non-residential maintenance and custodial staff, and this career ladder program has been a big selling point in that combination of being able to open up potential career paths in both areas.
Great. And just to go back to the learning objectives for the session, which is how we're going to organize the rest of today's session, we're going to start off with learning about multi-stakeholder partnerships, a little bit more from what that about what that means. So we're going to hear from Joe about those partnerships.
So why engage in a multi-stakeholder partnership? Why not go it alone? I think there's a variety of reasons here. One has to do with you're tapping into a whole range of different expertise, a whole range of different perspectives. There's an opportunity here to identify common ground. Sometimes when you think of management and labor relations, you think of antagonism. But if you look close enough, there's a lot of common ground between labor management, and career ladders is absolutely at the heart of that common ground. There are benefits for everyone here. There are benefits for employers, for the union partners, for the employees involved, for senior workers, for new hires. And I think another major reason why multi-stakeholder partnership is because you want buy-in. It's so critical. And to get buy-in, you have to have voices at the table. And so ultimately, that's probably the major reason why you want to go multi-stakeholder. Here's just a visual of what multi-stakeholder might look like. In our case, it involves plant management, our own team at PWE. We have plant HR involved. We have ASME, the labor union, involved. Maintainer 1 is our entry-level custodial title. We have Maintainer 2, which is their supervisors. We have Supervisor Janitor, which is their supervisors. We have other people in the mix as well. All told, our own steering committee, which I'll get to in a moment, has well over 20 people. So here we are at the moment. How this plays out for us is that we meet regularly with Ray and his key managers. It's probably meeting about 6 or 7 people. We meet, I would say, every 4 to 6 weeks. It's a little bit fluid, but we meet pretty often. We have conversations in between as well with key members of Ray's team. In addition, there's a steering committee, which, as I mentioned, is much larger. It's at least 20 people in this case. We involve management, union leaders, staff members, other people in the mix. These meetings occur on a quarterly basis. And I think the main purpose is to keep people in the loop so they know what's going on, to ask questions, to get their feedback. Voices need to be heard, and a steering committee is a really good venue for listening. In addition, there are other teams as needed that we create that emerge over the life of a project. As I think Jacob will talk about later, we're focusing on women in the trades. And so there's a team that's focusing on that. We have teams looking at scoring sheets for advancement. We have a number of teams going on at the present moment.
Great, thanks, Joe. And now we're going to move on to look at these, the way that the career ladder is structured in 3 tracks. And Ray's going to talk a little bit more about the evolution of the career ladder and then talk about the format.
Okay, so how it started in 2019, before the global pandemic. We launched the 3-way joint partnership with the Partnership for Worker Education. We worked initially closely with auxiliary services to learn about their career ladder success because they had started before us. And what was key is we worked very closely with the ASME union for local support. So this was a three-way mutual partnership, and it was set up as a win-win. Addressing F&CS unique staffing needs and priorities, addressing ASME's need to support workers, and then working with the core reasons for workplace education and partnership was education, training, and opportunity. So the one thing as we go through this slides now, just remember this was during the global pandemic. All of this effort happened, and all of the success we're going to describe what happened during COVID. And to me, that meant everyone had to have buy-in for this, and the multi-stakeholder process that Joe described worked really well. Next slide. So we had identified goals, like what are the goals early on that the team, the steering committee wanted to address in this program. And we said we want to address the work climate, advancement, high performance, diversity, and customer service. We're facilities, we're service. And one of our drivers is providing good customer service. So goal one was to create a positive work climate where employees feel valued. Two, to create a transparent, fair, and effective process for tools for advancement. And then three is to recruit, hire, sustain high-performing employees. Four, to increase the diversity in the higher ranks of the workforce. And then five was to deliver outstanding customer service. Next slide. So early on, we said, our program, what tracks would this career ladder have? Where could you go in the program? And we said, well, there's going to be three main tracks. One is you want to stay in custodial services for your entire career. That's fine. So how would you advance? How would you move up in custodial services? And then two was, hey, if you wanted to move over to grounds and transportation, how would we build that career ladder path? And then number three was trades. You wanted to go into building maintenance or utilities and be a trades worker. How would you move forward into that track? And the key here too on this slide is there's the entry level in the custodial services division is maintainer one, and there's over 390 maintainer ones that come into our campus. It's like one of the initial starting points. They come from job fairs, direct hires, or they transfer from other areas on campus. Next slide. So we started to build what do you need in your career ladder program, and we said first we want to build the core competencies of these 390 maintainers, at least the ones that are interested in participating in this program, and we started to put together training programs and seminars and education for core competencies such as basic math and measurements, workplace English, reading comprehension, testing preparation, and customer services. And then we also started to look at the three different career ladder paths and build a specialized education for those areas, such as OSHA 30, the different licenses and certifications that you would need, and leadership. Next slide.
Great, thanks, Ray, for laying out the structure and the organization of the career ladder. And as Ray mentioned, all that pre-work and organizing that happened in collaboration allowed us to create this structure, which then we could use moving forward. And so right now we're going to turn to the learning objectives 3 and 4, which is about workplace climate, as well as how we're using data-driven decision-making in our career ladder program. So we're going to move ahead to talk about that. So for starters, Joe shared this earlier, these elements of the career ladder. I want to highlight the monitoring, evaluation, and learning. We started off by developing baseline data. And as those of you who are involved in data-driven decision-making know, you need to have baseline data so that you can use that both for making plans, but also for checking back as you go along to better understand how your program and how your project is rolling out. And that happens through ongoing feedback and learning. And learning really equals change. It means looking at the design that you proposed, how it's implemented, and then what actually happens as opposed to what you thought might have happened, and then adapting and changing as needed. And during that process of gathering feedback, it's so critical to include a variety of perspectives because you really want honest and reliable input about how your project is actually unfolding. And of course, all of this is driven around our data-driven decision-making. And like I said, they have to be informed by the reality of how the program is rolling out. And so that's what we've set up to do. And I'll talk a little bit about how we developed a really robust set of baseline data using a mixed methods needs assessment. Now, some folks on the call may be familiar with different kinds of workforce needs assessment. What we chose to do is mixed method, which is both quantitative and qualitative. And essentially that means a survey. You can see there a survey, you design and pilot it, you implement it, you analyze the data. And in our design, we then, in analyzing the survey data, said, what can we learn more about this particular aspect? And so we then had smaller focus groups to better understand what was being said in the survey. And to give you a little bit more detail about the quantitative data gathering, this is a workforce survey. We did this in person and on paper because we know that our audience for this survey really needed us to be there in person and to do it on paper, that this is not a highly computer literate or highly computer comfortable group of folks. And we also wanted to make sure that we had interpreters. So in the build-up and planning, we worked with supervisors, we identified language needs, and we had interpreters for several different languages, including particular sessions in only one language. Also important was that we did this across all shifts. Ray mentioned the sheer scope of UMass Amherst, and so there are 3 different custodial shifts here that go 24 hours. And so we also wanted to make sure that we reached all shifts. And you can see the survey topics here, really covering from general information down to more specific information, including the skills that people have, their interests, their learning preferences, workplace climate, as well as some open-ended questions. And then after looking at the quantitative data, we decided to dig in a little bit on a few different themes. Again, the focus groups are going to be in person. We also had interpreted sessions here because of the language diversity. It's really critical to include the interpreted sessions, and again, all shifts. And what we wanted to zero in on are those 4 points that you see there: customer service, managing conflict, the promotion process, and then also hear suggestions, because it's a great opportunity to actually hear from staff about what they might do to improve the workplace. And just to give you a sense of the timeline, this is a pretty intensive effort. You can see we started in January, moving through question formation, drafting. It's critical to pilot any kind of tools, particularly with the population that you're going to be working with, to make sure that you're using the correct language, that you're using the correct vocabulary. So we had a series of pilots to really refine the survey, make sure we're asking questions in the right way and also asking the right questions. Then we implemented the survey, did that analysis, carried out the focus groups, and then shared out some of our final work in the fall of 2019. But you can see it took the better part of a year to do that, but just to give you all a sense of the time and commitment that went into this. And then I'll also say that this process goes back to what both Ray and Joe have mentioned about buy-in, because in doing this, you invite people to help design your program, and you're inviting them to share their experiences, sharing their feedback, and then in the end, you're taking that feedback and you're showing that you listened by designing programs that actually speak to those needs that come out of the needs assessment. And I'm going to turn it over to Ray to just talk a little bit more specifically about some of those results from the survey.
Thanks. Some quantitative results from the survey. The big one that sticks out is 78% of survey completion by plant custodial staff. That just speaks to the effort that Jacob described, and all of the face-to-face meetings with the staff to really get them excited about participating in this program, and let them understand that we really do desire their feedback. Some highlights there: we found out 17 languages were spoken by our staff. 38% are 55 and older. 53% have some community college or higher. That one I was really pleasantly surprised to find out. 50% have difficulty with basic math. 59% unsure how to apply for a job online. 48% interested in trades. That was a good sign. 20 plus women. 35% do creative arts and music outside of work. 81% prefer hands-on instruction from coworkers or supervisor. That was key to us building our program going forward. 85% would like training. And this one was, I really was really excited to see. 87% are proud of their work here at UMass. So think of, here's a group that's really proud to be working at UMass, and you couldn't think of a group to be launch this program with, and to use and build career ladders with. Next slide.
Great, thanks, Ray. And so these are just some of the qualitative results that you recognize from the previous slide. So customer service, some of the feedback we got was around increasing communication flow, both within shift and also across shifts. We heard really loud and clear that folks wanted to elevate the respect for workers, as well as the work that they're doing on campus across all shifts, right? And that relates to also the at times invisible work that people are providing here on campus, right? You show up and everything's clean, everything's well kept, and if you're not thinking about all the work that goes in behind the scenes, then the people that are doing that work behind the scenes may not feel recognized. For managing conflict, improving tools to support communication. So there was great suggestions around tools and also how to improve relationships within work areas. And then regarding our promotion process, folks felt that it needed updating, and we agreed, and that was part of the prompt for the Career Ladder program as well, as what can we do to improve and update the process while also increasing the transparency of that process so that people feel like they have the information that they need to prepare for a promotion. And I'll talk a little bit also about the education and training that then came out of that needs assessment. This is all tailored coursework, most of it provided by our office, and also working hard to provide education opportunities across all shifts, which sometimes meant, having a session at 11 p.m. or at 6 a.m. But we're really committed to that accessibility. So we had computer basics, and that was partly because it was the highest percent of interest on our survey. Most people wanted to have some computer basics, so we were able to offer that. Workplace English, we collaborated with a staff member in facilities and campus services on designing a math measurements for the trades to help give people some exposure to basic math and also basic tools that could be used in the trades. We also have career advising, resume advising. We're working on a course to help people learn how to apply for a promotion online. UMass, like many large institutions, relies on an online application system that's not as simple as we might want it to be. And so people that are less familiar with computers really need some support in that effort, because in order for the career ladder to function and to be accessible, this is one of those core building blocks. You need to have some basic understanding of how to actually do that promotion, how to do that job application online. We also have a training of trainers, which is something we're working on now. And that's to cultivate a cohort of staff members to become trainers for their co-workers. And as Bray mentioned, that's the highest percent of learning preference. People most prefer hands-on training by their coworkers and supervisors across the board, over 80%. And so what we're doing is coming up with a multilingual orientation, multilingual training, and training materials. And that's to also make sure that members of the workforce who prefer to learn and discuss these orientation trainings in their first language have the opportunity to do that. So this is something that's exciting that we're working on right now. And Ray's going to talk a little bit about the CDLs.
Yeah, one of our earlier successes in this program was our commercial driver's license program. So many of our job opportunities, you need to have a commercial driver's license to qualify for. And in grounds, construction services, moving, and waste management. So we started an in-person recruitment for a CDL license training program. The classes were offered on site. The physical plant covered the costs of the courses. This is a 40-hour course over a few weeks. This has been traditionally a male profession, and we were really fortunate that one of our three licenses was a woman. So, and it was a really big success. So this program started right away, adding to the diversity of our team. Next slide. So what's next, or what did we do next? So we started 6 apprenticeship positions in 2001, two plumbers, 2 HVAC, and 2 asbestos workers. Technical guidance was at UMass. Specialized training was on and off campus. Once again, the plant covered the expense for the training. Each year, as you move through your apprenticeship program, some apprenticeship programs are for 3 years. Some were for as little as 1 year, the asbestos workers, and some for plumbers go 5 years. So at each step, as you make 1 year and achieve all of your qualifications, there's a pay increase. There also, we worked with the union on this. This was a big one. At the end of your program, if you're successful, then you will be placed in a job at UMass Amherst. The PWE apprentice curriculum and supporting apprenticeships. So we worked really closely with Joe, Jacob, and their team to develop these apprenticeship programs with the Department of Labor. And then a big part of a real successful program is to have mentors. So we recruited people that were interested in being a mentor for these 6 apprenticeships. The positions are first open to all custodial staff first. That's our agreement with the union. So we open it to anyone on campus to apply, but the first choice would be in custodial services. As you can see, these trades were, for us, at least historically, a population of male, white, and older. We encouraged each one of these apprenticeships. We went on basically a marketing campaign on what is a plumber, what is an HVAC technician, what is an asbestos worker, and set up learning sessions with interested groups in custodial services. So out of 6 of our apprenticeships, 4 were people of color, which included Spanish and Nepali speaking apprenticeships. And we are now working to launch another 8 positions, apprenticeship positions this summer. Next slide.
Great, thanks, Ray. So out of that process that Ray just mentioned, we wanted to talk about something that we learned from that first round of apprenticeship, that first cohort. And here I just put up on the screen basically what we found in our data. More than 20 women were interested in the trades, but we only had 2 applicants. So we said, you know, we need to do a better job at attracting women to these positions. So we reviewed literature. We also conducted on-site research, and the result of that is that we've launched this Women in the Trades at UMass team. And actually, I know at least one of our colleagues, Mariam Rashid, is on the call. She's a doctoral student here at UMass. She's been really instrumental in helping roll this out. Some other data that we looked at with when we discovered that, you know, there were so few applicants and yet there was pretty high interest, is that just looking at the positions currently, out of around 294 trades and skilled labor positions, are about 18 women, so around 6 or 7%. Now this is something that we know we can improve, and in doing more research, we really understood this is a historically underrepresented population in the trades, and that we really needed to have a tailored outreach, tailored approach. People need to see people who look like them doing the work, and that also women need an open space to discuss questions, concerns that they may have about the trades. And so we started really right on site, you know, inviting tradeswomen at UMass. We reached out to those 18 women and we said, we'd really like to learn from you. You know, if you can see here, this is a force field analysis that we conducted, a workshop to learn about what has supported these women in being successful, what's gotten in their way, and how can we work together to create this supportive ecosystem for advancing and sustaining women in the trades and the skilled manual labor jobs at UMass. And out of that came a framework that Miriam has been working closely on, where we really were able to identify that there are critical details within the institution that UMass can support. There are also critical parts from the community. People get support from outside of UMass. And then there's also a whole part of this that's really going to be about learning, knowledge, and skills, both what people have learned up until now and what they can learn and how that learning can take place. So we're really excited about this. We've been having now info sessions for women who are interested in the trades all across our custodial areas. And at those info sessions, where we have women trades workers here at UMass to answer questions, to talk with them, and to really just, in a sense, demystify what it's like to be a woman doing work in the trades. I also wanted to mention, Ray talked about how so much of this project has taken place during COVID. We provided really specific COVID support. That included furlough support. We ran a campaign for frontline workers. Again, we knew that, you know, coming out of the survey that folks were not often feeling very visible. We wanted to make sure that, especially since these were the people who are keeping campus going, that we could show support for them. So you can see on the right, we gathered messages from UMass community members in a variety of different languages and made large posters and hung these up to make sure that people felt seen and felt appreciated for the work that they were doing coming on campus. We also switched pretty quickly, as so many of us did, to offering more online training. We also thought about ways that we could offer pre-apprenticeship opportunities. And of course, we're participating in part of the overall public health promotion. And you can see right down at the bottom, that's a snippet of a poster that's a personalized campaign of mask wearing that we called Why We Wear. And we just asked people from different parts of campus that work in facilities and campus services, from union leadership, to just say why they wear a mask and to show a picture of them wearing a mask, because we knew that was critical for the health and safety of our campus. And Ray's going to talk about the virtual org chart.
So the virtual organizational chart, this is something that we're working on currently. And Jacob and Joe brought it to the steering committee based on what they had seen for the New York City Transit. And what it is, it's an organizational chart that has videos of certain positions embedded in the chart, where if you're interested in one of these positions, you can click onto the video and watch and learn what that position does. And it gave us the opportunity to be hearing directly from our staff, also to be highlighting much of their work that they're proud about, and also to be able to see their work in action. And I got to tell you, I've been simply thrilled about the outcome of this effort. And with that, I'd like to launch a video where Norma Valentin and Carlos Marte talk about their work at UMass Amherst.
My name is Norma Valentin, and my position is Maintenance 1.
My name is Carlos Marte, of UMass, Historian, Maintenance 1.
I work here in design building, and I do bathrooms and trashing the studios.
I work in Amherst College. In Amherst College, I clean the office, I pick up trash and brew cafe. Yeah, clean the bathroom.
It's very nice to work with my husband. We don't work in the same areas, it's different zones, but the good thing is the same hours, so I don't have to dry in winter.
Sometimes the people tell me, God, why you working together to your wife? For me, I'm happy. I'm married for 37 years. I say, wow.
You like being able to work here, Carlos?
Yeah, he's my best friend. My favorite part is all my co-employees. There are my teachers, because in my zone, I'm the only Latina. And I'm learning every single day a new word. And another thing is physical class. They gave me the opportunity to take English class, so I learn more. So I like my job. We're very grateful to work at UMass, because I met some very nice people, and I enjoy when students sometimes told me, thank you so much for your job, and I appreciate that. I met so many beautiful and very nice students here, so I met so many little girls here, so I like it. Entonces, pues yo les diría que no tengan miedo, don't be afraid, para venir a trabajar a UMass, que no pongan el idioma como un impedimento, que vengan, que tienen muchas oportunidades. So I say, don't be afraid to come to UMass, because don't put the language is like a rock in the middle. No, don't be afraid.
Great. And I believe Billy's going to send out a quick poll for all of the participants here. And as a part of really all of our work, we're curious to hear some evaluative feedback. And so the poll is going to include just questions about our learning objectives, right? So we're curious to know if you have a better understanding of any of those learning objectives that we set forth, the multi-stakeholder partnerships for career ladders, the three strategic areas, how career ladders can address workplace climate issues, including diversity, equity, inclusion, and how this career ladder program employs data-driven decision-making. And the poll itself obviously just gathers quantitative data, and so after the poll closes, we're curious to see results, but then I know Ray is also going to open it up for questions. So we'll just close out with Ray closing us out.
All right. Hey, thanks, Jacob. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today for this presentation. I hope we excited you on the possibilities of career ladders and open up the potential of it. If there's anything you ever want to ask us, ask now, or don't hesitate to contact one of us in the future. I really feel strongly about this program, and you know, can only highly recommend it. It's been really worthwhile.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm doing the polls now. We're on our third poll question, and then we'll get started on to our Q&A.
Wonderful. Thank you, Billy. And as Billy mentioned at the very beginning of the session as well, and just to reiterate what Ray said, there are a few minutes left, and you're welcome to put in questions, comments in the chat for now, and also to reach out directly with any questions that you might have about our career ladder program or something that you're thinking about.
I just launched the last poll question, but we can get started on some of our questions because we have quite a few questions. And so people on the line know, if we don't get through all of the questions, answer your questions here live on the session, the questions will be sent to the presenters and they will be answering you on a one-on-one. So our first question is UMass Amherst a union environment? If so, do you offer these ladders to all members regardless of talent, drive, aptitude, etc.?
I'll start with that one. Yes, we are a union environment. The union that is the blue collar union on campus is AFSCME. So we've worked directly with AFSCME to develop this program. We also put together an MOU for the apprenticeships of the program, and you know how people would be qualified, how they would be picked for the program, and then once they completed it, how they would have employment. So we negotiated you know, all of that up front, and once again, as Joe and Jacob described, it was a mutual partnership, and it was something that, you know, that they really seen value in on how to promote their workers and have them have a career ladder.
Hey, thank you. Our next question is, and I believe you've answered this, but just to reiterate, I'm a believer in the value to the employee and organization. You have a formal mentoring program.
So once again, that is a really good question. We're starting to formalize the mentoring program. It's definitely a lesson that we've learned. When we first started this effort, and especially with the first 6 apprenticeships, we recruited mentors, or we recruited people that we felt that would really be valuable on participating in this program. But as we move along, we're realizing that this is something that's critical. And so how do we define it better? And then also, how do we have training and support for the mentors? I don't know, Joe or Jacob, if you have anything to add.
I mean, it's a really current issue. It's a good question. We have a meeting at 8 o'clock tomorrow with Ray and the union to talk this particular issue through. Support for mentors, I think, is critical. Well-defined roles will go a long way. And I've seen what happened when we had mentors before in Res Life. Some people were really interested in being mentors, others weren't. For the people really interested, they really got a lot out of being a mentor. There's a reward there in itself of sharing your knowledge with other people. So we ought to tap into that.
Yeah. One of the things that really worked, at least for me, is when we were doing the recruiting is, ask, everyone, like, you're here in your career because you had a mentor. I mean, I had a mentor. I would not be here where I am. And everyone agreed with that. And so here's the opportunity now to kind of play that forward, be the mentor for that next person, for that next generation. And that seemed to resonate really well.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, at our university, we've had supervisors in their position for decades. Therefore, supervisory positions don't open up very often. Do you face this challenge, and if so, how do you address it?
I think Ray could probably better address that, but I know just across the board at UMass, there are a lot of vacancies, including in supervisory positions. So actually with the vacancies, which I assume UMass is not unique, it's an opportunity for career ladder programs across the board to try to fill some of those vacancies and for people to move up. I think pre-pandemic, we probably would have said exactly what you're just saying now, the questioner, that there are a few openings, but that has changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree, Joe. It's definitely changed through this pandemic, but even pre-pandemic, we had looked at what is the age of our workforce, especially on our supervisor, manager level, and it was 55, approaching 60. So many of them were within 5 years of retirement. That's why we started to say this career ladder program really fits into our needs as an organization.
And I would add that the supervisors have played a critical role in helping us to develop and roll out the career ladder. And so in that sense, it's been, from what we understand, some exciting and new work that really draws on their knowledge and skill set. So they really feel a part of the success of the programs. Just thinking about folks that have been here for a long time and how they are great contributors to any kind of program like this.
If I could add one more thing, Ray had mentioned earlier the connection between career ladders and succession planning. I think often succession planning can be haphazard. Through this process, it's deliberative. As Jacob said, we're engaging supervisors right now on the knowledge that they can share right now. And that's really helpful for succession planning.
Okay, we have time for one more question, but I'm going to combine two questions into one.
Nice.
Does the training happen during work hours, and how does this tie into employee performance evaluations?
I can start, and probably Ray can elaborate. Traditionally, almost all of our training is during work hours. We came to agreements 34 years ago about this. Actually, when we first started, only 50% was on work time. The other 50% was not. Within months, supervisors saw the real benefit to what was happening, and it was at their behest that it was increased to 100% work release time. There are parts of apprenticeship program training that have to happen outside of campus at night. Some of those, while paid for, the time itself is not covered. I'll stand corrected by Ray on that. But.
No, that is correct, Joe. So some of the training is during work hours, but it's not guaranteed. If you want to participate and see this as an avenue, if it's off hours, then we provide the cost of the training program, but you don't volunteer your off duty hours, and that is very specific for the apprenticeship programs, because so many of them have night schooling, which we pay for, but the individual does it on their own time.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen. This has been a very informative session today, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. And to our attendees, as always, thank you for taking time out of your extreme schedule to be with us. So until next time, be safe, stay healthy, and be kind to one another. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.